Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 14 of Legends of Tomorrow called River of Time. And wow, we're almost to the season finale, and boy oh boy, is this a real table turner. So let's just kind of get right into things. Now, one thing I like about this episode is that some things that are probably going through the audience's mind are repeatedly pointed out. One of them being that Rip is actually being really selfish in this episode, and the way he's kind of been using the team in general has been really selfish. And of course, it's also pointed out more than once that having Savage on the ship is really, really stupid. Um, and it's even kind of briefly mentions like, hey, if we kill Carter, he'll just reincarnate. That means we can just kill Savage right now. And then, of course, everybody's like, yeah, let's not do that. I mean, which is kind of basically what a lot of people in the audience have been saying, and it's just, I mean, it just seems monumentally stupid that they're going along with this. I mean, seriously. But it is what it is, so I guess we just have to roll with it. So let's just kind of get going with this. One really nice thing about this episode is we get some really nice stuff with some guest stars. Nissa pops up for a really nice scene with Sarah. We get a really great scene with Felicity from Ray. Stein gets to talk to his wife again. So all really nice stuff there. Um, Not a huge amount to say about what's going on with Jax. I mean, that seemed really, really contrived, and again, just sort of a way of getting him out of there, making sure the team doesn't have access to Firestorm, and again, setting Rip up as being a big jerk. And apparently, they also don't have radiation suits on the Wave Rider, which you think might be handy if you're dealing with things that could potentially, if the equipment malfunctions, dose someone with a nasty dose of radiation. Yeah, that's not having that seems very dumb. Let's see what else. But in any case, that whole thing with Jax, it did sort of show that a nice parallel between Stein originally drugged him to get him on the ship, and now he drugged him again to get him off. But this time, Stein did it for selfless reasons, and within the first time around, he did it for selfish ones. So some nice character development there. Uh, I kind of like how just about everybody on this ship kind of strolls in there to the brig to talk with Savage, and he's just like immediately messing with their heads, no problem at all, like it's nothing. And everybody's like, hey, "You're not going to succeed in messing with my head." And then, of course, he quickly succeeds in messing with Ray's head, which not only basically destroys the whole Ray-Kendra relationship. Of course, Kendra, reciting love poetry to Carter while touching his face. Yeah, not helping the situation, Kendra. Not helping at all. And then I really love that Ray goes in there and smacks Savage around, does a surprisingly good job at it, and then of course Savage immediately turns the tables on him and kicks his ass because a guy who's been alive for 5,000 years probably doesn't know how to fight. I mean, to his credit, Ray kind of does take responsibility for it. Like, yeah, I did something really dumb, but little too late for that. Although I did love that confrontation between Snart and Savage, where Vandal Savage is like, "Who are you to challenge me, Vandal Savage, destroyer of empires?" And Snart just goes, "Leonard Snart, robber of ATMs." I'm like, oh man, Snart, that was great. Um, it's also interesting just to sort of see those scenes, particularly between Savage and Rip, where they're talking and sort of reflecting in a funny sort of way on their relationship over all those thousands of years. Um, and Savage just sort of let it drop, like, "Hey, I know about time travel," which of course Rip goes like, "If Savage has been doing time travel, I can take him to the Time Masters and get all this undone." And he thinks it's the greatest thing ever. He thinks he's finally won. And of course, this is just Savage screwing with him again. Although I definitely love that Rip's explanation for how he got out of the Egyptian prison years ago, and it's just he had one of those novelty pens where you turn it upside down and the lady's top comes off. That's yeah, that's pretty hilarious. And then it's even better when Savage like basically takes the pen out of his pocket and goes, "Oh yeah, I was just messing with you again. I knew how you got out." It's just like, oh man. So, of course, this all leads into the whole big revelation that apparently the Time Masters have been in cahoots with Savage this whole time, which some people had been speculating for a long time. Others, like me, were kind of surprised. But this episode kind of got me thinking, well, who founded the Time Masters? We have to remember in this episode, Vandal Savage says, I play the long game. I mean, wouldn't it be an amazing twist if it turned out that the Time Masters were in fact founded by Vandal Savage? I mean, talk about the ultimate way to ensure that nobody can ever mess with you is found the people whose job it is to control time. I mean, and another thing he says to Rip this episode, you're a time master, but I am a master of time. So I can't help but wonder if maybe that's not what they're hinting at. And it's also worth noting that one of the things with these sort of time police sort of characters is that the correct quote unquote future is always the future that they come from. So that's something kind of worth thinking about. Let's see. Um, the whole thing with Kendra and Carter, that that's really just kind of not working for me. I mean, I really like that bit where brainwash Carter is going like, "Let me go and I'll kill you quickly." It's like, why do bad guys ever even bother saying that? Does anybody ever said, quick death? Yeah, okay, here, let me let you out of there. No one ever goes for that. So why do they even bother? And I also got a kick out of how he managed to use his legs to what basically almost take down Ray, and then Ray kind of whacked him in the face, and then afterwards he's just sort of laughing at the guy. And then of course it comes into the whole thing of Savage about to kill Kendra. That's of what it takes to snap him out of the brainwashing, and it's just like okay, it's not like we didn't see all of this coming down the road, which it is one of those things. I really have never been a big fan of the idea in superhero stories that pairings must happen. In a Superman story, he has to get together with Lois Lane. You have to have Green Arrow get together with Black Canary. I mean, yes, those things are traditional, and fans, of course, always are fond of that. But if you're not doing mainstream continuity, or such and such, then kind of playing around with that always is very interesting to me. Like one of the things I like about the modern DC, even though I don't read a huge amount of modern DC just because it's just so confusing, is the idea that Clark Kent and Lois Lane are not together. Superman's girlfriend is Wonder Woman, and I've read some of the Superman Wonder Woman comics. They have their own sort of team up book all about them working together to do stuff. And it's a really good series. They make a really interesting couple. They have disagreements and arguments, and then sometimes they'll go out to a nightclub and go dancing and just have a good time. I mean, it's a really really interesting take on the characters. So I don't really mind if they kind of break from that formula, particularly on TV shows where you can kind of have a little bit more leeway and you can sort of make the most of the various chemistries that the actors are going to have together. But here, it sort of seems like they're really sort of pushing this idea together. And now part of it all is, as they said in the Old West episode, if you try to make it, if Kendra tries to make it work with anybody but Carter, it's just going to fail, even if they do genuinely care about. And I did like this weird twist that where Vandal Savage, like, yeah, Kendra and I met in an alternate life where she didn't remember Carter yet. She fell in love with me and we were together, and then Carter showed up and that ruined everything. And you kind of, as messed up it is, I do kind of get the impression that he might have been telling the truth, because what a great twist, huh? I mean, he has that knowledge that yes, it was, despite what she said, entirely possible for her to genuinely love him, and then Carter comes along and ruins it all. So, in a twisted sort of way, it does kind of lend a little bit of credence to what Vandal Savage has said about how they were destined to be together. So, I don't know. The whole thing with Destiny, is, I mean, the whole point of Destiny is that it's meant to be. But here, it seems like it's being pushed in a meant to be way, in a way that's dumb and really relies on, Kendra making really stupid decisions that make absolutely no sense. So I guess that's ultimately what's sort of bothering me about what's going on there. I mean, it's great to have Carter back on the show in some form, even though he's going by some other weird, vaguely Roman-esque name. I don't know. But yeah, this whole thing, that kind of feels like the biggest drop the ball element of this show so far, which is a shame because while it's had its missteps, in general, the show has been really strong. Uh, in any case, I think that kind of covers everything that I had to say about this episode. So with that said, let's call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi and join me on Tumblr at Jedi Reviewer. Until next time, take care and have a good one.